hold on, I'm eating a cookie. Alright, I guess I started. This is an assassination video. What I'm going to be showing you today, hold on, it's a good cookie, is my best weapons. And I'm going to start with, damn, this is a good cookie. How do we make it? I'm going to start with this sword. This is on Skyrim. You can probably see it. You can't really see the sword. It's kind of bluish and it has mist coming off of it. And what it's called is, oops, oh, okay, Children. I imagine you might have heard of it before. It's a really great sword. It looks great. It's pretty damn good. You might have noticed that it does 134 damage plus 30 points of frost damage. Cookie. Who doesn't like cookies? Anyway, Daedric Battle Axe, 158. It's a very good cookie. And as you can see, this carrying too much anyway. I'm going to kill Lydia. And I got a soul. Whoop-de-doo. You know, in some ways, I didn't. Well, she barely has anything. That's weak. Anyway, so this sword is, this battle axe is super. So, and then it's the Daedric bow. I don't have any arrows because I thought it would mess up the video if I had arrows all over this stuff. So, and I got Daedric dagger. Looks great. It is great actually. 79 damage Daedric sword. That used to be my absolute favorite. And then I got Dawnbreaker. I watched a video on how to get that. It's a pretty sweet sword. They did a good job on that sword. Dragon Priest Staff. It does 50 points per second with fire. I'm going to go ahead and show you that. Oops. Just look at this. And just keep going, and it does a whole shitload of damage. And now my house is on fire. I regret that. I don't know what to do about that. Yeah, that's not doing anything. Anyway, you can enjoy the fire in the background. And I got Dragon Bane, which is really good against dragons. It's like a katana sword. And I got a Dwarven Greatsword. I love Dwarven artifacts. I love it. It looks so awesome with its green glow, and it's so tall. And it's just massively just great. I love the Dwarven stuff. That's why I'm wearing Dwarven armor, as you can see. I got the Ebony Blade, which is a two-handed katana weapon. It is magnificent. If you kill innocent people with it, supposedly, it makes your weapon more powerful. You started out the damage is 18 or something. So then I got this Mahinrune's Razor. Hits have a small chance to instantly kill, which is superb. And this looks so much like a samurai dagger of some sort. It's great. Nettlebane, you're probably not interested in that. Looks like a Never seen anything like it. Nightingale blade. That is awesome. I love the Nightingale blade. It looks great when you have it in your left hand. Just look at that. Super. Yeah, the fire's clearing up. Can't believe it. I'm gonna hang that up. That's where I had it. So, and then the next one is the Sanguine Rose. This staff right here is one of the best things ever. Look at this. And it summons a Daedric Lord. Look over here so the people on YouTube can see you. I need you to look over here. Come on. Come on. And see, it looks like Darth Maul. Seriously, Darth Maul with Daedric armor and a Daedric greatsword. It looks wicked. Not again. Yeesh. Hurry up. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh man. Finally! Staff Chain of Lightning. Yeah, it's not the best. And then Boothrat. This is awesome. I mean, it doesn't do as much as some of my other weapons, and doesn't do very much at all. See this whacking? It's doing 86 damage, I think. I wish I could search him, take his armor and stuff. So that's it. I mean, I guess those swords and weapons are pretty cool. So if you like it, subscribe, link to my video, whatever. You could post a comment about stuff I didn't showcase. Like, I didn't showcase poop. Well, I kind of did because Lydia up there, she pooped. So I kind of did showcase poop. Anyway, it's not the point. So if you don't like my video, leave a comment saying what it needs, and just do that. Alright. See you later.